Hello, everybody. Welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yi.
And I'm Mike DiLisio.
Today we're taking a look at a new series of games from Allplay. Now, Allplay is a sponsor of the channel, of course, but we try to be as impartial as we can be and give honest reviews with these. But when these were announced, I was pretty excited about these, Mike. I don't know about you, but tiny card games primarily.
Yeah, very excited. One of the things I guess that this publisher is known for is having kind of standard box sizes. And this is their newest size, being the smallest size. And I also had a bit of interest because I knew that they were re-implementations of older, sometimes very hard to get games. So I was, intrigued for sure.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through 4 of these. We're going to go through one at a time in alphabetical order. So first, we're going to show you how to play Fairy, and then we'll give you our thoughts. Fairy is the most adorable game for degenerate gamblers, or at least that's how it's been sold to me. This is a game in which there's a deck of cards numbered 1 through 21. Each 7 is a different colored suit, and in the middle of each colored suit is a special fairy card. The point of the game is to try to predict higher or lower in order to earn points. This is the score tracking card, which players will hold between their thumb and their pointer finger, and as they earn points, they will slide the card further along here. Everyone can see how many points they have, and they can also read themselves on the back here. The point is to either reach 24 points or have the most points when the third fairy gets flipped over. So every player starts at 0. There's a starting card revealed, and so at the same time, all players will reveal one of 4 hand signals. First, they can reveal higher if they believe the next card will be higher, lower if they believe the next card to be lower, same suit if they believe that the next one will be the same color, or a fairy. There are only 3 fairies, and so they're worth 7 points. The safer options are worth 2 points each, and if you get it wrong, you lose a point. So on the count of 3, everyone might reveal a different symbol. Some say higher, some say lower, and you reveal the next card, and it turns out to be lower. Everyone who's predicted lower will earn 2 points. Everyone who predicted same color would get 4 points. Everyone who predicted higher or fairy are wrong, and they would lose 1 point. So you continue doing this round after round. The next round, everyone says, fairy! And you reveal, in fact, it was a fairy. But it was also lower. So everyone who is correct will score the appropriate number of points and continue playing until someone has reached the end, or all 3 fairies have been revealed, and the highest points is the winner. So Fairy is a riff on the type of game of higher or lower, and there's been a lot of games that do this. But for me, I find that this one manages to be a little bit better, because higher or lower is usually a very, very binary decision. Is the card in the upper half? You should probably go lower. Sometimes your gut says higher. But this one, breaking it into the 3 suits, and then, of course, having the elusive fairies, it really elevates this kind of genre of game for me.
Yeah, this is one where I feel like it's the shortest of all the games in this line. It's over very, very quickly. It has kind of a little bit of a gimmick on how you score on holding the card. But I do tell people going in, this is a party game, 100%. It is not one where you are going to be relying on strategy as much. There's a little bit of potential with probabilities, but this is just a silly party game.
And not all the games in this line are like this. This one is kind of a standout as it's the smallest. It uses the fewest cards. No other game asks you to hold your score marker in your hand. And I really like that gimmick, because as soon as you're doing that, no one feels cool anymore. No one feels like they're about to play something that's like a strategic game. It kind of is, I use this word a lot, it's disarming, and I think that serves this really well. And there's actually 10 of those little cards, and so you can play this with a large group of people, and I have, and it always works really well.
Yeah, it's a game that probably the more the merrier. It just leans into the silliness of it, and there's something to be said of having a bunch of people making hand gestures at a table that are just, it brings out the fun. It just brings out the fun.
Yeah, so not a very deep game, but one that I enjoy a lot. Now, this is a reimplementation of a previously instant celebrity from Japan. And I think that the fairy theme works pretty well, because you have a bunch of grown people yell, fairy, Score-wise for me, I'm coming in at 7.5. I really like this one because, as you said, Mike, it's a party game. I think it works incredibly well in large group settings. And as soon as people get into it just a little bit, as soon as someone hits a fairy for the first time, I've seen people who are very serious gamers become very invested and have a lot of fun. So a 7.5 for me.
And I'm just a touch lower. I'm coming in at a 7. I feel like this is a game that you're going to play several times in a row. I don't know if there's such a thing as several, but I'm putting it out there into the universe. You're going to want to play it multiple times in a session, and then I probably need to have a fair bit of time in between. But when I'm doing it, I'm having a good time, and it's such a silly, fun experience at the table that I can recommend it. Not terribly deep, but a 7 out of 10.
The next game here alphabetically is Panda Panda. Now this one is a re-implementation of Cat Poker. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes, Cat Poker, another Japanese title.
All right, so let me show you how this one plays here, and then we'll give you our thoughts. Here is Panda Panda set up on the table. There is a deck of cards that is dealt 5 cards to each, and then the remaining will be in the center of the table here. Players will start with 5 cards that represent different letters or different suits of pandas, and they have adorable illustrations on them. Players are trying to create a winning hand. If they start their turn with a winning combination of cards, they will have won the round, and they will flip this over to indicate they have 1 point. If they win another hand and flip this over to earn a 2nd point, they win the game. So, what are the winning hands? Well, it depends on how many number of cards you are holding in your hand. So this player looks at the starting hand here and can do one of 2 things. They can either discard a card face up in front of them, or they can draw a card that was either previously discarded or the top card of the deck. Well, they'll choose to draw a card, and they look here and they see they have a pretty good hand. They have A, B, C, C, D, D. Now, a 6-card winning hand is to have 2 Bs, 2 Cs, and 2 Ds, which they are pretty close to. Or if they keep drawing up, they could try to get to as if they have 7 cards in hand and they have A through G, or 4 A's and 3 B's, that's a winning hand. Or they could try to discard down to 3 cards and have nothing but 3 D's, and then they would win. So that is this player's turn. The next player looks at their hand and says, well, I want to try to get rid of some of these, so maybe they'll play out the E in front of them. The next person can draw from the center of the deck, or maybe take this one over here to try to have multiple E's. Well, that doesn't really work for them, so they're just going to draw from the top of the deck, and they have found the gold foil, ultra rare Panda G, or the red Panda G, because you see that the deck has different composition of each letter. A's are the most common, down to G's as the least common. If a player ever starts their turn with a winning combination in hand, they show it, and then they have won. The one way to kind of get in the way of that is if a player is excited because they have a great hand and someone discards an A face up in front of them, every player must immediately pass 1 card to their left, and then play continues from there. 2 rounds won, you're the winner of Panda Panda. If it hasn't been said yet, all of the art in this series of games is done by an artist, Saibepu, and I think that she does a fantastic job. This one is, in my opinion, probably the cutest of the bunch. The pandas are just gorgeous. It's fantastic. Each of these tends to have like some little detail in the cards, and so the G suit panda has that little bit of gold foiling on it, which makes it stand out. So I like what it's done from a production and from an art standpoint incredibly a lot in this particular game.
Yeah, across the board, Saibepu's art is charming and suits the themes that they put on all of these very well, and this one is certainly no exception.
So for me, in terms of the gameplay, this one is probably my least favorite of the 4, and it's not that I dislike it by any means. It's a very simple game. Draw or discard cards and try to make that winning hand, and I find that to be fun. I find it to be, interesting enough, but it's the one of the 4 that I think that, and Mike, you kind of alluded this in Fairy, like, oh, you want a little breather, a little break in between playing this, and that's kind of this one for me, where I don't want to come back to it too often, because it's light, it's lucky, and it's fun and enjoyable, and definitely adorable, but I think that the amount of luck and the amount of just kind of digging in the game is okay, and it's fun. I'm not sure if you feel differently.
No, I mean, I'm in a general agreement there. I guess what I'm just thinking is that this is a game that I'm going to be using as a primer for other climbing and shedding games, because it's less restrictive than some. I mean, you can always play a single card. And so I think I would use something like this to introduce gamers to something like maybe Scout, or that has a little bit more going on. This is, a pretty heavily luck-based game. And so I'm treating this as kind of like an introduction to climbing and shedding. So I have a little bit less of an issue of it because of that.
Yeah, so for me, score-wise, I mean, I love the art. I think that this is the cutest looking of the bunch and everything. But ultimately, I'm still going to give this one a 6. I think that trying to get those, get that hand of pandas and keep it until the start of your turn, I do like the tension that someone might play an A card and make everyone pass cards clockwise. And so you're sitting there going, no, I had it. So there's those fun little moments and everything. But yeah, it's the one that I'll come back to least frequently. But if someone says, hey, do you want to pull it out? Yeah, let's play it. That to me is kind of what a 6 is.
Yeah, as a gamer, my least favorite mechanic is the A cards, where you're passing cards, quite honestly. But in the context of this game, I understand why they did it, and it's fine. I'm giving it a 7.5. Again, I think that this is a game that I would use probably as like one of the first shedders. There are others I would also consider, but I think size art definitely ramps it up a bit. So 7.5 for me.
All right, the third one of the series here is Prey. Now, this is a trick-taking game, and we've seen games use kind of this little mechanism where there's two-sided cards and everything. So let's show you what this one does differently, and then we'll give you our thoughts. Prey here is a trick-taking game where you are trying to win rounds twice. If you're not familiar with trick-taking, I'll explain in just a second. It's very simply done in this game. However, if you are the winner of a round, you will take this little index card of yours and flip it over to the one side. If you're able to win a second round, then you have won the game. So every player starts with a 0 side and will roll their 2 dice to make sure they have 2 different numbers, and these are targets that they're placing over here. If you hit this target by winning that number of tricks, 3 or 6, 1 or 3, 4 or 3, or 1 or 3, then you will have considered to have won the round and flip it over. And multiple players can hit their target and flip over their point cards in the same round. Now to explain the trick-taking. In this game, the deck of cards is going to consist of 4 suits, and it's going to have cards of different values. And you'll notice they have a secondary value on them as well. In the first half of the game, you're going to be playing this top value. Halfway through the game, once 6 cards have been played and evaluated, all players will flip over the remaining cards, and now it's going to play with these alternate values. So the cards show you, hey, this 6, if you keep it to the second half of the game, is going to become a 12. So maybe you want to try to keep a card that will become strong. Or the 7 is going to become a 1, so maybe you want to keep some cards that are lower and more likely to lose. All this because you're trying to hit these exact numbers over here of tricks 1. So, as I said, if you're not familiar with trick-taking, a quick example is I play a red 7. Every other player is going to have to play a red card and follow suit if they have it. So if this person plays a 6, this person over here plays a 5, and this player has no red cards in hand, and they can play whatever they want, but they will not win because the winner of the trick is the highest number of the starting or the led suit. So in this case, the red player has won 1 trick, and they are on their way to 3. The last wrinkle of the game is that the 6, because it's a high target, counts as a 6 or a 0. So this player over here is looking to win 0, 3, or 6 tricks at the end of all 12 cards, and that is how you play Prey. One of the things that jumps out to me first, that this one looks least like the others, which I think is not bad, right? It's still Saibepu's artwork, but it has a more kind of like a tribal or ancient kind of illustration style to it, which I enjoy, of course. But then there's the question of, how does this stand out from other trick-taking games? I'm curious to hear what you think, Mike.
Yeah, I would agree as far as the art. It's the most stark, the least cutesy, I suppose, of the other games in this line. This is a game that grew on me, Chris. I think originally this would have been close to my least favorite, and now that is not the case because I think I got a new appreciation for what the game is trying to do. I initially was put off by the idea of rolling dice to have a random bid. Because I thought it took away from the strategic nature of many trick-taking games, but I think that's what this is trying to do. I think this is a more tactical trick-taking game, and it's forcing you to learn how to mitigate to get to those types of solutions. And so it's a game that started off, I was like repellent to some aspects of it, and the more I played it, the more I understood what it was trying to do and appreciated it.
And it's funny because I feel quite similar. Now, you and I haven't actually played this one together, but I had a similar experience. Like when first being taught it, I was like, ugh, I don't know. All right, we'll see about this whole rolling dice thing. And then as soon as I kind of realized, oh, there's two gimmicks to the game, roll the dice to see what your target is, and then the second one being the flipping cards halfway through, your hand is different. And I realized, oh, those two things actually work together incredibly well. You rolled really low and you have a fairly strong hand. Well, you can try to avoid enough and then hold on to the cards that at the halfway point flip and turn into weaker cards. And realize, oh, okay. So I think that the two kind of, like I said, little gimmicks of it are the correct ones to work with each other. So yeah, I really appreciate, I like that about this a lot.
Yeah, so with that being said, I'm giving this one an 8. It's one that I think I would have rated much lower had I not kind of, it just kind of clicked with me, that synergy that you're talking about between those two main hooks in the game. And now it's one that I think has a lot more subtlety than I gave it credit for to begin with. So an 8 for me.
Yeah, and this is going to be an 8 for me as well. Like I said, it's kind of grown on me, and I appreciate what it's doing. And one that I'm excited because I like the idea of not having to look at your hand of cards and bid for a target. Instead, the game kind of tells you to, then it forces you to play cleverly towards it. So an 8 for me as well. And the last one here is Rainbow. This is the first one I actually played, and this is one of the oldest that is kind of being re-implemented in this current printing. So let me show you about how this one plays as well. Rainbow is a bit of a card-shedding game, but also it's a gathering points from the middle type of a game. The lead player here is going to play a set of cards or a single card from their hand. The deck consists of 1 through 6 10 times, and depending on the player count, you'll deal out a different number of cards. So the starting player here can choose to do one of a few things. They can play a single card out into the middle if they would like. They can play sets, pairs, 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, so forth. Or they can play a run of cards, which is at least 2 or more cards that are played out in numerical sequence. So let's say that this player here is trying to win the 6 points, and so they want to play out a decent pair. So they'll play out a pair of 2s. The next person can follow by either playing out a single card or sets. They are not able to play runs in this case because sets has already been played. So this player here says, well, they're going to play out a slightly better set. They'll play out a pair of 3s, which is better than the pair of 2s. And the last player now has an opportunity to put out whatever card they like, and they're going to put out a single card. What will happen now is you're going to evaluate the strongest sets against each other, or the strongest played cards. This player here played the best set, and so will therefore score 6 points into their score pile over here. This player scores the 3 points into their score pile, and this person got last place, so they'll score 1 point. The cards that were played now come into the middle of the table. So the 6 will come out here, the like numbers will get paired together, and then there are now 3 stacks available for play again for 6, 6, and 4 points. Whoever won the highest point card will get to play and follow out again. So let's say that this person plays a 4, 5, 6, and this person's going to follow with also a 4, 5, 6. And then this last player over here is just going to put out a single card. What will happen now is that this person will win the highest card because they played the best strength of cards or cards together, and they went first. So they will score the 6 points. This player here will win this packet of points, and the last player will score these. These will come into the middle. If there are ever too many cards after they have been paired up, then the remaining cards will get removed. There should only be 1 stack per player, so in a 3-player game, this is what it would look like. You keep playing until 2 players have run out of cards in hand. That triggers the end of the game, and everyone will flip over their score pile and see who collected the most points. That person is the winner of the game. Rainbow uses an interesting deck of cards where it is just 1 through 6, and there's 10 copies of each. And so when I was first told that, I thought, I wasn't sure how this was going to be an interesting climbing or shedding type of a game. And then I was told that there's the scoring points in the middle, and I immediately said, oh, that sounds like For Sale, one of my all-time favorite card games where you're hunting for the points in the middle. And then when I was told that the cards that were played by all players go into the middle, it blew my mind. I thought that was such a fun, clean gimmick that I was surprised that this game was as old as it is. It felt so fresh. It feels like a brand new game.
100%. This feels like a contemporary game that could have been designed, last year or this year for that matter. It's one where when I heard, these types of games, trick-taking, shedding games usually have what we call a hook, something that differentiates it a little bit from the standard formula. And when I heard the hook for this game, I was immediately fascinated by the idea and very interested to see how it played out in reality.
And then once you started playing it, it really is a delightfully tactical experience where you might be in the last seat and you say, well, I can't really beat the runs that were played, and I'm just going to play a single. Well, someone already played a 6, so if I played a 6 now, I would be last. But you know what? If I play out a 4, actually, that's going to create some interesting pairs in the middle, and I think that, it becomes this kind of, while very light and very easy, it becomes a bit of a cerebral experience as you're sitting there saying, okay, what I play really is going to affect the next round. Or if I can choose to win right now, am I going to have too weak of a hand to then win something even bigger next round? I love those tense decisions in this game.
Yeah, the word that just kind of jumps to mind is it's just brilliant. It's just such a smart idea that works flawlessly. It gives you a lot of decision space within a very simple rule set. And you discover the more you play, more of those nuances that are in there. As you said, maybe you're building up towards the next round or maybe even a couple of rounds ahead because you've got that kind of control. You can kind of choose, like you may have a huge run in your hand at the beginning of the game and your first inclination may be just dump it all out there. And sometimes that's the right thing to do, but sometimes it's not. And so I really appreciate all of the depth and nuance in this small little card game. It's just brilliant.
It really is. It plays well, incredibly well, up to even 6 players, which I stress tested that, and I'm happy to report that it plays great at 6. There's a 2-player variant. The box says 3 to 6, which I actually appreciate, because I think that the 2-player variant, you have 2 hands of 14 cards. You have to play through one, and then you get the next one. That one is good. I think it's fun. But it leads to a few more kind of rules questions and little clunky moments, whereas I think 3 through 6, this game is incredibly clean. It's incredibly fun, and this might be my favorite card shedding game because I love that hunt for the points. So I'm giving Rainbow a 9. I think incredibly highly of this one. I love it a lot, and it's going to be one that, because of this box size, I'm going to carry around to a lot of conventions and game days, and I'm excited to teach this one to so many people.
Yeah, I think we're aligned in this being the best of the bunch. I'm giving it an 8.5, so we both think this deserves a seal of excellence, which is great. You've pretty much covered things. I'm very, very happy to have an opportunity to show this game to more people. I'm thrilled it's back in print because I had never heard of this game, and it's been out for a long time. So it deserves a wider audience that it's going to now receive.
Yep, so I'm right there with you, Mike. I think that it's neat that these 4 are games that have been hard to get. And while some of them I think are good, and there's clearly a few standouts. For me, Rainbow is a standout in terms of, I think it's the best game of the bunch. But Fairy is also the one that I feel like I'm going to have in my arsenal to say, you guys want to play something kind of dumb? So for me, those are the 2 that I'm kind of most jazzed about from the 4 in the pack here.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this opening salvo in the Tiny Box line from Allplay. I'm Mike DiLisio.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And have fun playing small card games.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.